Hey there. In May of 2025, the Prime Minister of India stood in front of a crowd and announced that India had officially become the fourth largest economy in the world, finally passing Japan. The headline ran everywhere. Then, in February of 2026, India's own statisticians recalculated the economy using a new base year, and it turned out smaller than they thought. Suddenly, India wasn't fourth anymore. Here's the thing, not a single factory closed, not a single worker lost their job. Nothing in the real economy changed, only the math changed. And that's not even the strangest part. One country doubled its entire economy over a single weekend without building anything. Another country's economy grew 26% in 1 year because of one company. We'll get to both. So, you've heard the word GDP 1,000 times, on the news, in politics, everywhere. And you probably think it's simple, it's just how big a country's economy is, right? Well, it's not. Because the same country can rank fourth on one list and 140th on another on the same day using the same data. So, what exactly is GDP? How do they actually calculate it? What's the difference between nominal, PPP, and per capita? And which one is real? Why is drug dealing officially part of Europe's economy? And most importantly, what does this number mean for your wallet? In this video, we'll cover everything you need to know about GDP. So, let's get started. Section 1. What is GDP? Well, GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product, and the easiest way to understand it is to break the words apart. Gross means total value. Domestic means inside the country's borders. Product means goods and services. So GDP is the total market value of everything produced inside a country in a given period, usually a year or a quarter. Now, how do they count it? The most common way is the expenditure method, and the formula is GDP equals C plus I plus G plus exports minus imports. Don't panic, it's easier than it looks. C is consumption, you and me buying things, groceries, rent, haircuts. In America, that alone is about 68% of the entire economy. So yes, most of America's economy is just people buying stuff. I is investment, businesses buying machines and factories. And G is government spending, roads, schools, public salaries. But here's the rule that trips everyone up. GDP only counts final goods. Let's use bread. A farmer sells wheat to a bakery for $1. The bakery bakes bread and sells it for $3. So how much did GDP go up? Not $4, just $3. Why? Because the wheat is already inside the bread. If you counted both, you'd be counting the same wheat twice. That same rule kicks out used cars and stocks. The car was already counted when it was built, and buying a stock just changes whose name is on a piece of paper. And here's a mistake almost everyone makes, including the New York Times, Bloomberg, and even the American government's own press releases. People see minus imports in that formula and assume imports hurt GDP. They don't. Statisticians measure consumption using store receipts, and receipts don't say where a product was made. So imported goods accidentally get counted inside C. The formula subtracts them at the end, only to cancel out what shouldn't have been there. Imports get added, then subtracted. Net effect on GDP, 0. Okay, so now you know what GDP is and how they calculate it. But here's where it gets interesting, because there isn't one GDP. There are 3 different rulers and they measure completely different things. Section 2. Nominal versus real GDP. Imagine a country that produces exactly 100 loaves of bread. Bread costs $1, so GDP is $100. Next year, the same 100 loaves. Same bakers, same ovens, same bread. But now bread costs $2, so GDP is $200. On paper, the economy doubled. In reality, nobody got a single extra slice. That $200 is nominal GDP, measured in today's prices. Real GDP strips out inflation, and in real terms, this economy grew by exactly 0. That's why economists almost always talk about real GDP. Nominal GDP can rise just because prices rose, and that's not growth. That's inflation. And here's a real example. Japan's economy has been growing in yen for years, but the yen lost over 40% of its value against the dollar since 2021. So measured in dollars, Japan is shrinking. Same country, same factories, same output. Growing and shrinking at once, depending on which ruler you use. This also matters for a word you hear constantly, recession. Most people think it means 2 quarters of falling GDP. But that's just a rule of thumb. In America, a committee at the National Bureau of Economic Research makes the call, and they also look at jobs and incomes. In 2022, GDP fell 2 straight quarters and they still refused to call it a recession because employment was at record highs. So, real GDP fixes the inflation problem, but it can't fix the bigger one, comparing one country against another. And that's where this gets weird. Section 3, Nominal versus PPP. So, when you look up the world's biggest economies, you see this. The United States first at around $32 trillion, China second at about 21 trillion, then Germany, Japan, Britain, and India. That's nominal GDP converted into dollars at market exchange rates. But there's a problem. A dollar doesn't buy the same thing everywhere. $10 in Switzerland might get you a sandwich. $10 in Vietnam might get you dinner for the whole family. Same $10. Completely different life. Nominal GDP ignores this entirely. So economists came up with PPP, or purchasing power parity. It adjusts for what things actually cost inside each country, and when you switch to PPP, the whole ranking flips. China isn't second anymore. China is first at around 44 trillion, more than 10 trillion ahead of the United States. And it didn't pass America recently. It passed America back in 2014. India jumps to third, and Russia goes from Europe's fifth biggest economy to Europe's biggest. Now, how do you even measure that? Well, the World Bank runs an actual program for it, collecting prices on thousands of items across 176 economies. It's so expensive they don't do it every year. But there's a much simpler version, and it's genius. In 1986, The Economist invented the Big Mac Index. A Big Mac is nearly identical everywhere on Earth. Same beef, same bun, same sauce. But its price also includes local rent and local wages. So if a burger costs wildly different amounts in different countries, that tells you something about their currencies. In January of 2026, a Big Mac cost $6.12 in the United States. In Switzerland, $9.08, which means the Swiss franc is overvalued by about 48%. In Taiwan, $2.47, meaning the Taiwanese dollar is undervalued by almost 60%. Same burger, less than half the price. So which ruler is real? Well, both. For military budgets, foreign debt, or who can buy the most oil, use nominal. Because when China buys oil, it pays real dollars at real exchange rates. But if you want to know how people actually live, use PPP. Now we've compared whole countries. But countries have wildly different populations. So let's fix that with the third ruler. Section 4, GDP per capita. This one sounds simple. Take a country's GDP, divide by the number of people. Done. And it fixes something huge. Remember our opening story? India is a top 6 economy by total size. But divide by 1.4 billion people, and India's GDP per person is around $3,000, roughly 140th in the world. Japan's is about 36,000. So India passing Japan was never a story about wealth, it was a story about size. Two completely different things, and headlines almost never tell you which one they mean. But per capita has its own problems. 3 of them, and they're fantastic. Problem 1, the bottom of the fraction can lie. Luxembourg sits near the top of the world rankings around $150,000 per person. Impressive, right? Well, Luxembourg has about 650,000 residents, but roughly 220,000 people commute into the country every single day from France, Belgium, and Germany. They produce Luxembourg's GDP. But they sleep somewhere else, so they're not in Luxembourg's population. The top and the bottom of that fraction are counting different people. Eurostat literally puts a footnote about this in every report. Problem 2, the top of the fraction can lie too. In 2015, Ireland's economy grew by 7.8%, or so they thought. Then the Statistics Office recalculated and announced the real number, 26.3%. Nobody grows 26% in a year, not even China at its peak. Economist Paul Krugman called it leprechaun economics, and the Irish government was so offended they had their ambassador in Washington complain to the paper. So what actually happened? Multinationals moved their intellectual property into Ireland for tax reasons. Irish law forced the Statistics Office to hide the source's identity, so it took until 2018 to confirm the culprit: Apple. One company. Ireland's numbers got so unrealistic the country had to invent its own alternative measure. In 2024, Irish GDP was 533 billion euros. The adjusted number was 312 billion, a 200 billion euro gap that doesn't exist in real life. Problem 3, and this is the darkest one. An average tells you nothing about distribution. Equatorial Guinea found oil, and its GDP per capita shot above $26,000, officially making it one of Africa's richest countries. Meanwhile, around 77% of the population lived in poverty, most on under $1 a day. Child mortality actually went up. Neighboring Cameroon had one-tenth the GDP per capita and one-third the poverty rate. One billionaire and 9 broke people still give you a beautiful average. Okay. Nominal, PPP per capita. This is the table of differences. Feel free to take a screenshot. And you'd think the raw number underneath all three is at least solid, right? Well, this is where it gets ridiculous. Section 5, the weird stuff nobody tells you. Number 1, GDP only counts things people pay for. A mechanic fixing a stranger's car is GDP. The same mechanic fixing his friend's car for free is not. Cooking dinner for your family, raising your kids, caring for elderly parents, none of it counts. In fact, if you quit your job to care for a sick parent, GDP goes down, even though you're doing more work. Number 2, bad things can raise GDP. An earthquake destroys a city, and the rebuilding shows up as growth. A car crash means repairs, hospitals, and lawyers all counted. War means spending on weapons, counted. Cutting a forest down and selling the timber counts. The forest disappearing counts as nothing. Number 3. Since 2014, every country in the European Union has been required to include prostitution and illegal drug sales in its GDP. And honestly, the reasoning makes sense. In the Netherlands, these things were already legal and already counted. In other countries, they weren't, so nothing was comparable, and contributions to the European budget depend on economy size. In Britain alone, this added around £10 billion. Statisticians now have to estimate things like condom sales to get it right. I'm not making that up. Number 4, and this is that weekend I promised you. Nigeria hadn't updated its GDP method since 1990. Most countries do it every 5 years. When Nigeria finally did it in 2014, its GDP jumped 89% overnight, from $285 billion to $510 billion, instantly passing South Africa as Africa's largest economy. What was missing? Nollywood, the film industry, and mobile phones. 120 million subscribers, nobody was counting. Not one new factory was built. They just counted what already existed. Nigeria's own labor unions immediately pointed out nobody's life got better that day. And number 5. Can we even trust the numbers? In 2007, a Chinese official told an American ambassador he didn't believe his own country's GDP statistics. He called them man-made, for reference only. That official later became China's premier. He preferred tracking 3 things harder to fake: electricity consumption, rail freight, and bank loans. And here's the kicker. Copper traders worldwide track his unofficial index more closely than China's official GDP. Then, you might ask, if GDP is this flawed, why hasn't anyone replaced it? People have tried. There's the Human Development Index, which adds life expectancy and education. There's Bhutan, which in the 1970s declared gross national happiness more important than gross domestic product. But GDP survives for one reason. It's comparable. Almost 200 countries calculate it the same way, every 3 months going back decades. Nothing else comes close. It's like a thermometer. It can't tell you what's wrong with you, but you still want to know your temperature. And here's the thing, all of this was known from day one. GDP was invented during the Great Depression. Congress asked a simple question: how much has the economy shrunk? And nobody could answer, because nobody had ever measured it. So they hired an economist named Simon Kuznets, and in 1934 he delivered the first national accounts. And in that same report, he warned Congress that the welfare of a nation can barely be judged from national income. 10 years later, the world made GDP the global standard anyway. As one Oxford economist put it, GDP is a wartime metric. It tells you what your economy can produce, not how to make people happy. Then you might also ask, what does this mean for me? Well, quite a lot. Rising GDP usually means companies expand, hiring goes up, wages go up. Falling GDP means pay freezes and layoffs. Central banks watch GDP when setting interest rates, which decides your mortgage. Governments watch it to decide how much to tax you. And rating agencies watch it to decide how expensive it is for your country to borrow. You might not follow GDP, but GDP follows you. So, in conclusion, GDP isn't one number. It's 3 different rulers. Nominal tells you a country's weight on the world stage. PPP tells you what people can actually buy. Per capita tells you the average, but never the distribution. Pick the wrong ruler, and you'll believe a country is rich while most of its people are poor. So next time you see a headline saying some country became the 4th largest economy in the world, you'll know the real question isn't, is that big? It's, which GDP are we talking about? Because GDP isn't a score. It's a shoe size. Bigger doesn't mean better, it just means bigger. Now, there's a lot we didn't cover, like why inequality might matter more than growth, or whether endless growth is even possible. If you want a full video on that, let me know in the comments. If you want me to make other videos explaining these topics, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.